Welcome back to 108 Healing Senses podcast, episode 4, series 2026, with my favourites, Jayne Porter, Andy Porter, and his lovely spirit guide, Chen, who would like to join the conversation today, which is beautiful. And thank you so much for coming on again. It's always incredible to speak with all of you, and on and off this podcast. What was that?
We've just got a bit of a technical.
We had a complete echo, basically. But I think okay,
I'll turn it down here.
Perfect. There we
go.
Okay?
So
everyone can hear without the echo that we heard a moment ago.
I didn't hear
any conversation, so it was just like you talking, but in like a 3-second delay.
It's not the easiest when it's echoing.
So it's still in the tech, isn't it? That's the thing.
Yes. Yeah. Hence why. Sorry, what was that?
I think it's all working now, Jennifer. So
I would say so. Yes. So we both of our all three of our paths have had similar or just kind of very maybe overlapping experiences of waking up and finding ourselves and coming back to ourselves through sovereignty, through having your own energy and clearing ourselves from any energies that aren't our own. And actually that's been such a paramount aspect to my journey, and I met you guys whilst I was on my journey in a really challenging place. So it's really important, this kind of work. It seems simple, but it's very accessible for everyone to practice, and will bring so much more peace to the planet the more people acknowledge that this is an aspect of life that is so important. I wanted to share that.
Yeah, no, quite right, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's our journey, really. Obviously, everyone I think goes on their spiritual journey. I think most people at some point find themselves in a life where things start to become problematic. Trauma comes in, relationship problems, marriage problems, that kind of thing. I think that's when people start to look for this bigger answer, this wider, why am I here? What am I here to do? I need to have a purpose. What is that purpose, and how do I find it, really? And for me, that's how people sort of move themselves onto that spiritual path. But at that point, generally, certainly when people start to find spirituality, they're coming in with a huge amount of baggage and trauma and pain and problems from their past, really. And that needs to be cleared first before they can really start to kind of make forward movement. So that's kind of what we see on a daily basis, really, is that people that are booking clearings for us are coming in with the wounded spirit, I think is the right word. Yeah. And then once we can get to a sovereignty place where people actually have just their own energy, there's nothing attached, no attachments, and we've done some sort of clearing, they're in a space to really start to move forward on that kind of spiritual development path, really.
Yeah, it's powerful. It's so profound, and especially if it's people who have been struggling for years. And you created a post a few days ago, and I saw it yesterday. I was like, that is exactly it. It's so important for people to also recognize what spiritual abuse looks like, because it is rife. And if you are new to this, I put level of the game, because it kind of is. You've gone beyond the I'm staying in the 9-to-5 box, and you're starting to search outside as to more answers as to why you feel the way you feel, or how you can get through it. And along the way, you will be initiated into learning discernment as a key superpower, I would say. And yeah, there are aspects around, I suppose, the whole of self-mastery that requires each of us to learn what is ours and what is not, and also not to be coerced by anyone, even if they may appear bright and light and sparkly. What is their agenda underneath?
Yeah, that's what we found, isn't it? I don't think there's any other line of, if you want to call it work, where there is so many agendas. I think, well, you were in the corporate world, weren't you, for years, and you sort of accept a level of narcissism, you know, to reach the top, whatever. You know, it just sort of happens, doesn't it? But oh my gosh, in this world, it's right, isn't it?
I think the difference is in the corporate world, you know that everyone, you know that you're in a kind of lake full of crocodiles, basically, and you kind of know that you're going to get stabbed in the back because that's the corporate world. That's what everyone does. It's, you know, it's very apparent that everyone's trying to climb the ladder, and if they can step on top of your head to do that, most people would, and that's the kind of way corporations are designed and built, and that is the structure. I think in the spiritual, we expect, as you said, everyone to be spiritual and positive and help everybody, and everyone says that they do. However, when you start to work in this space, you realise that, you know, the number of people that don't do what they say they're doing, and in fact do the complete opposite, and the number of people that are kind of hidden behind the mask, you know, it's the numbers are big generally, what you said.
Yeah.
You know, we work with these people every day, and some people purport to be so positive, and then when you actually look at what they do compared to what they say, there's a big difference generally. So we've learned a lot of lessons.
Well, we've been bitten a few times, haven't we? So we do. You're right about discernment.
More wounds. We've got some more wounds.
Yeah.
As everyone has, of course. But I think the longer you're in the spiritual space, the more you. John and I used to say, from a Spirit Leads Academy perspective, we experience the same thing. So we say now that the circle of trust is very, very small, and there's only a few people in the middle, and everybody else sits outside until they prove themselves to be worthy of coming into the circle of trust, basically. And that that method seems to work very well.
It's interesting you said that, because that's also been the path that I've arrived at. Is no, a small circle is good, and trust is huge.
Yeah.
And actions, however small, are all accounted for.
Because and boundaries. That's my big thing.
Boundaries. Yeah. I noticed Diana Scott was here. Hi, Diana. Good to see you on.
Yeah, and some fearful souls that also like to continue their fearful rhetoric, and that's okay, because you don't need to agree with us, but if you were to even come back to the simple basic form of just discernment, not to be, even if it's just on a human level, have discernment so you can recognize traumatized or wounded behaviors, so you know who to navigate around or not at all. Because if people are in a fear state, if they're in an anger state, if they're in a judgment state, their view is already distorted on the world, and they're already seeing everything through that one lens rather than the whole spectrum of life, which, you know, things change. And also and what you focus on grows. So if you're continuously focusing on fear, anger, things that rile you up or make you righteous, that others should be like you or see the world just how you see it, that's challenging waters. That's definitely megalomaniac waters. So
yeah, I mean, we're sort of big believers, aren't we, really? Everyone just do their own thing. So as long as we accept everybody else doing their own thing, the world will be quite a better place, really. But what we have in this world is all these people that want to apply their opinions or their versions of reality onto everybody else. And that, of course, is where I think we have this huge problem in society with humanity, really, that we have all these different religions and different people that have got their beliefs, but they want you to believe their belief. And, you know, everyone's trying to control everyone else and manipulate everyone else. So it's like, let's all just live our own little life and just do what we want to do.
It's about what brings you comfort and peace, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's what you find for you. But you don't have to push that on everybody else, do you?
But people do. And of course, that is the world that we're living in. You know, corporations do it, society does it, religion does it, governments do it. Every sort of layer has this controlling layer across it, basically. It's trying to force people to do what they want things to do. And of course, it's for that agenda as well, too, really. Whereas again, if we just woke up in the morning and we had no media and we all just lived our normal life like we would have done 100 years ago, you wouldn't have known what other people were doing in other countries and what opinions people had about, you know, whatever it happens to be. So it would be this kind of autonomous life. Just do your best, treat people nicely, don't be a complete idiot, really, for a better word, and life would be so much better for everybody. But At the moment, the control system is literally trying to push people into, well, it's divide and conquer, I guess. I suppose it's always been that way, really.
I think it causes so much judgment too, doesn't it? No, that's been one of my things recently. I've sort of like put a few posts out about, you know, judgment over compassion or compassion over judgment, whatever. It's you know, we're living in such a critical world. And I think, like you said, it's because you have access to everything, don't you? So you therefore become immersed in everything. So I just think there's too much, maybe too much information. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong on that. It's like this phrase came to me during the week, which you could take either way. It's like the jack of all trades and the master of none.
None.
And I thought to myself, well, that really depends on depth as well, because there are many tradesmen and women that have multiple trades under their belt, and they are extremely capable and professional. So actually that statement isn't necessarily true, but it depends. It could be the other way as well. You kind of know a lot about a lot of things that you think you know about. Actually, that could be like content online, and so people think that they know enough about a subject to warrant having arguments on the internet or whatever it might be.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But they really don't know the full story or the depth of things. So yeah, I suppose everything can be seen from any angle, from any perspective, and everything's about depth.
Yeah, effective, really. As you say, it's a bit like the analogy of the bus, isn't it? Everyone's on a bus, but people are looking at different windows. One side of the bus, it could be raining, and the people on that side say, oh, it's raining. The people on the other side of the bus say, the sun's out, it's lovely. But they're both on the same bus looking at different windows, basically. And, you know, we see this quite often with comments coming back from social media. They're quite rude people that have got no idea what you did. They've never actually bothered doing their website. They've never bothered to look at testimonials or engage with some of the people that have been helped and you've changed their life. And we sit there and think, how many people have you helped in your life? I probably can guess. Because of the words and the opinions, it's zero, basically. A self-serving zero person, basically a null person, having an opinion based on no information. And you think this is the depth of people that are on the internet just writing profoundly offensive content and allowed to get away with it, really. But I'm sure if they sat in front of you and spoke to you and said, this is what we do, this is how we do things, blah, blah, blah. Here's our very big, exhaustive list of testimonials over 20 years. Now what's your opinion? They wouldn't have the same opinion, but they can't actually spend more than 3 seconds. They're too thick, probably, to actually go and do any research. And that is the general gist of what's going on, I think, on the internet these days.
It's a bit like, what came to me is when your amygdala is still activated from a very stressful situation or trauma, you see the world in black or white. So maybe if we were to consider everyone that is incredibly black or white and won't spend more than 3 seconds, is they've got a whole bunch of baggage, even if they're real or not. They might even be bots. To allow that rhetoric to keep flowing, it's like, well, it's kind of pointless. Like, this is literally a waste of keyboard types.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Block and delete.
That's what you're doing. Because you used to say back in the day, didn't you? I need to reply to people. We said in the end, there's no point wasting 1 second of energy on just delete and block, basically, because
I think emotionally you don't want to get caught up in it yourself anyway. There's no point, is there? It's not going to change anybody's day. It just makes you feel more irritated and agitated, really.
And like you said, for it's traumatized people that are coming from their own life traumas. It's like the bullies. The people that are bullied become bullies. So the people that are keyboard warriors are the same, aren't they? Things have happened in their life that then have made them angry and traumatized in different ways. So they're just lashing out to anyone else they can see or spend time with, without actually the intellect doing research.
Well, that's okay. People are entitled to their own opinion anyway, aren't they? I'm not really worried about what people think, are they? Brush it off.
I think you have to. I think you do have to. I mean, I'm sure you probably have too. If you're going to put yourself out in the public arena, you have to grow a thick backbone in the spiritual space, really, like any other, I guess. Because, you know, as much as you're trying to do good things, there's always going to be people that that target you will have a different opinion, and you have to be able to absorb that and kind of just, push it off and carry on the next day.
Yeah, reflect it back to the sun. That's a good one. It's like, it's not my baggage. It's not my baggage.
You've seen the sun.
Yes.
Yeah, right now.
Yeah.
It makes a nice change. And actually, this is a good segue into what we spoke about, connected before we came online, and grief and the processing of grief seems to be a bit of the topic for the day. And that could be grief from losing someone, grief from having challenging experiences in your life, and still in that process of trying to process it out, but you may get stuck in a different level of the game, which is keyboard warrior or whatever other title or label that people choose in those moments, because they are still reaching for something outside of themselves to feel peace within, but they get stuck on that hamster wheel of externalizing their problems onto others, when ultimately it's their own self-responsibility to reflect and go inwards to help them go through that process. And that could be grief of changing, grief of waking up, grief of changing jobs, family members, relationships breaking down, lots and lots of different things. And I've recently been feeling that actually grief is the stem of most people's traumas and wounds.
Yeah. I agree. Well, there's all sorts of different, like you say, different types of grief, isn't there? But
yes.
I remember once coming to the realization that I was actually grieving an old home that I used to live in, a house. Wow. I was actually, it obviously affected me very deeply that I'd made this home. I have to have a home. I have to have a nest, like my safe place. And because of this relationship breakdown, I'd had to leave my home. And this went on for months, if not probably like a couple of years, before somebody pointed it out and said, I think actually you're grieving, you're going through the grieving process of losing your home. And actually, but hopefully, once you actually realise that, you can work with it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is the acknowledgement, but it's funny, it's a bit like it's in disguise for quite some time. The dark heavy duvet is wrapped around you, and it's much comfier to stay there than it is to go out into the sunshine, out into nature, and do some quiet self-reflection as to what's going on.
Yeah.
Or have a kind friend that can point out, oh, have you seen this? This might be something you want to investigate a bit more.
Yeah.
That's really helpful.
Yes. Yeah. Grief is a hard thing to navigate, isn't it? But like I said, once you actually realise what it is, I was having a hard time at the beginning of last year, wasn't I? And I maybe covered this with you before, Jennifer, but my friends kept saying to me, "Did you grieve your dad?" No, maybe I haven't, but I was in a really, really dark space, and I couldn't get my head around it at all. So I talked to somebody professional, and we worked it back. And there'd been a lot of other things that had gone on in my life. I'd had to walk away from a very close family member, and that was very difficult. And my little dog, my little Florrie, had died about 3 years before.
Yeah.
And once we shifted, we sifted through all that, I actually thought, well, no, I don't think I had grieved my dad, but because I had all this unresolved grief going on from before, so I'd sort of shut down. I built this sort of like this barrier of, we lost 3 parents, haven't we, since then? But that's what it was. It was just old grief and that hadn't dealt with. I was stuck.
I'm so happy for you that you were able to get to that point of being able to navigate back and identify, oh wow, there's a few other paths on my, in my life story that I can resolve right now, because
absolutely
they've compounded.
Yeah, absolutely. And then sometimes it only takes one little thing, doesn't it, to topple you off the top.
The straw.
Yeah.
The straw that breaks the camel's back.
Yeah.
That is the thing. I mean, everyone has a Pandora's box, don't they? Most of us go through things, problems, trauma, pain, whatever happens to relationship problems. You kind of pop it all in a box, don't you? It kind of stays there for a long time, and then at some point that box gets opened either by someone else or by yourself, energetically or subconsciously, and then of course you have to weed through this kind of myriad of emotional stress, trauma, grief, all of those things are in there. And it's how you manipulate and manage yourself emotionally to kind of deal with that, really.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, a lot of people really choose, and I've done it myself as well, go the opposite other way, not to feel the pain, because I didn't even know where to start when I was way back in the depths of pain. But as time has gone on, I started to do the inner reflection as, what do I need right now? And I think when I started to ask myself those kinds of questions, where I put my needs before anyone else's, that was when I was able to help myself get to this point.
And I think you're lucky, not lucky, but you're fortunate if you are able to actually, you're in a situation in your life and your lifestyle and your work and everything, family, that you can actually do that, because it's definitely what you need to do. It takes a lot of patience, those around you probably, but yes, putting your boundaries up and putting yourself first is, it's essential, really. And understanding people around you that will just let you be is a precious gift.
Yeah, I agreed. And not everyone can hold that space.
No, they can't. But it's a huge help.
Yeah,
huge help. When I was poorly, I was never made to feel guilty once by Andy for not wanting to either get out of bed or leave the house or get off the sofa, or all the things that normally in your day-to-day life you just sort of take for granted. But I had to just be where I was. And everybody
it's a time thing, isn't it? You have to work through things in your own time, really.
Yeah, it's like a reboot mode. It's like you're defragging yourself.
I sort of call it a breakthrough, actually.
Yeah, it is.
It leads to brighter days, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does lead to brighter days, and it is like, keep hanging in there and keep getting outside and keep moving and walking and physically being present in your life, however that looks, even if it's 5 minutes in the garden and you walk out there, you sit in the sun, and then when you're ready you walk back in. Like whatever point anyone is on their journey, you can always do a little, and then a little always turns into a little bit more and a little bit more, and then soon enough life is changing for the better.
Yes, it does. And it's had to, hasn't it? Because you can't go on the way you were. But I think I know myself better now. I'm 60 this year, and I think this last year I've actually sort of like I've met myself. And I'm happy with it too. I think particularly, not so much men maybe, but particularly women, with all these what we should be, who we should be, what we should look like, there's all these things going on in our minds, isn't there? All the time. Maybe not, but I've always been a bit like that. I try and be slim, try and do this, that, and the other. But I don't care about all that anymore. I really don't.
You just have ice cream then. I think as well.
I don't.
I think a lot of that is the media, isn't it? The media focuses on women and females primarily and says this is what you should look like that most people can't possibly achieve, and that sets the scene for young girls that literally 5, 6, 7 years old. It's already being programmed into them. They're not going to be enough. They haven't got blonde hair with curls. They don't look like this. They're not Rapunzel. There's no castle. There is no prince. And then you try and find that all your life, aren't you? So when you're older, you think that whole programming sequence that you fell for when you're younger doesn't apply anymore. Once you can push that out the door and look in the mirror and think, yeah, I've got my problems, but you know what? I'm happy. I'm having ice cream, and you enjoy having the ice cream. Then it changes everything, isn't it? Because suddenly you're not being programmed by the system anymore to be something that either you can't be or you don't really choose to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is choice and free will, and everyone's has a unique path ahead of them, whatever it looks like. And it is easy for our youngsters to perceive a world it feels like they're getting two worlds. If they're living in a family with any kind of imbalance or levels of stress or trauma, they're getting those as an imprint from their family members, their caregivers, as well as siblings, and those dynamics. So you're being brought up, being conditioned as to, this is how a family unit should behave like, and this is what you should expect from a partner in the future. You know, our family imprints on us as to what we then choose as we go through our adult years, and if we're not careful, we'll repeat the old until we figure out the game and reprogram our lens on life to say, no, I'm not doing that, thank you, I'm going this way.
That was a bad example. I'm not doing that.
And then you've got the movies, which is kind of either glamorized like prince, princess, happily ever after, which, not to say that you can't achieve that, but it's often not through what you're seeing. And I really feel for the kids. I see them and see them struggling, and like they are addicted to those shiny square things, rectangular things in their pockets, and it is literally changing. Like, I'm seeing zombies, because I don't know if you see zombies about. They're hanging out at bus stops, and they look like they've got neck problems. And if they don't have neck problems now, they're going to have neck problems.
Chicken children, that's right.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. What's more worrying, actually, is that you see the mums doing it, don't you? When they've got their children with them. It's not good, is it?
What, paying no attention to the children, just looking at their phone. Yeah. The kids are running around behind with no kind of duty of care, really.
But that is the example they're learning, isn't it? That's their life, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's what they've grown up with, and it's going to take them time to recognise that thing that you might actually be watching this through. So it can be used for good, but if used incorrectly, it can be it just suck you down into wasting your life away and feeling disconnected and not having the skills to communicate in person with someone and use your voice.
Well, if you think most people now, if you actually said to most people, how much time do you spend on social media just flicking with your finger? If you actually time that in a week, a month, you're talking hours and hours and hours of dead time, really. You just flick, 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 flick. Oh, there's something mildly interesting for 3 seconds, flick it off again. And you see them, we see youngsters just sat there, they don't even pay attention to the things they're watching. They're continually flicking until they see something mildly interesting, watch it for a few seconds, but not the whole time of that video or that short or reel, and they're flicking again. And you think, like you're literally not taking any of it in anyway, effectively. And it's just dead time. Because you give them a book and say, go read a story, something interesting. You're not, much more productive by the time you've finished a book, as opposed to social media flicking, really. But that's kind of where we are. But I think everything has to go, everything gets worse before it gets better. So I think we're at that point now whereby most people our ages are completely fed up with the whole social media thing. We use it, as you probably use it, because you're a business, so you have to use it. If we didn't, I'd delete my account for it today. No interest whatsoever in any of it, really.
No.
If you run a business, obviously you need to be on it and engage with the people that you're trying to connect with, as we are today, effectively. But again, it's trying to use it in a constructive, positive way, not just dead time.
For the right reasons.
You're just kind of flicking.
Yeah, totally agreed. And it is a balance. If you're not careful, you'll start scrolling. You're like, no, dopamine, calm down. We're going to go there. And that is also part of the knowing thyself is, all right, I've had enough. I'm not getting sucked in. I've got better things to do. And then the day.
Should we get Chen in then for a quick chat? Which will be good. Yeah. Perfect.
You don't need to take your watch off.
Slightly don't need to. Digital watch, it's all good. Okay, so I'm just going to shut my eyes, quick meditation, second. Chen will be in, and then you guys can talk. I'll catch you when we come back.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll hand over. Good day to you all.
Good day, Chen. Thank you for joining us today.
It's wonderful, a wonderful opportunity for me.
Yes, absolutely. And I love speaking with Andy and Jayne, so it's wonderful to have all three of you together. So now we're four in a cup.
Yes, you'll find me much more interesting, my dear.
You both have humour.
Yes. Yes, you've got a lovely sense of humour, that's for sure.
Yes, well, this is the whole point. Laugh every day. Very important.
Yes, what you reminding us?
Yes.
Absolutely.
In the perfect world, people will be laughing all day long, every day, because it opens the heart chakra and people feel better.
Yeah.
So as we were just talking about, I think you, my dear, mentioned the dopamine effect. And of course, dopamine comes from laughter and feeling good about yourself. So discarding these implements and doing something that is fun would be much better for so many people. And people that are suffering in grief and with trauma and in such a negative way, because they're watching negative things and they're watching other people fail, other people fall, videos and reels and things of people having unfortunate circumstances. If they turned that on the head and only watched laughter, comedy, positive content, they would feel better. But people are driving themselves into an anxious, depressive state by the content that they're absorbing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see that daily with the kids that I drive by, and they all literally look like zombies and they don't speak to each other, to the people I work with and how they interact, and also reflect on myself as well when I get sucked in. But there's always a way out.
We all do from time to time.
Yes, of course, it's a very clever trap that's been designed and developed.
Yeah. At least if you are to be on social media, I like to flood myself with those that are resonating at a higher frequency, that are solution based, but all about love and laughter. So you guys are definitely main points of interest for me when I'm reading and watching. And actually, it's 6 p.m. today, so 45 minutes. Do head over to Andy's Psychic Surgeon YouTube, one of the channels.
Both. We stream live on Andy Porter Psychic Surgeon Facebook page and our YouTube channel as well.
There you go. So you could get even more goodies after tuning in, and I'll be tuning in after this as well. So thank you for a double booking, and we'll make sure you've got a little bit of space between, so you can reset.
Oh, it's well for Chen. Chen, you talk for hours, wouldn't you?
Of course. Yes.
It's Andy that needs a bit of recovery time.
Unfortunately, I don't have the human physicality to have to concern myself with.
Yes, I think it's quite tiring. Andy has his vibration has to come up, whereas Chen's the bloke. So Andy does this, Chen does that, and they meet in the middle. And for Chen, there must be an effect because you have to drop your frequency, don't you, to meet Andy's where he's come up to. But with Andy having to raise his frequency, it's actually quite tiring.
Yeah.
On the physical body.
Yes, of course, the physical cells have to vibrate at a faster speed to maintain a higher frequency of energetic inside.
Yeah.
So it's rather like running a racing car flat out for a period of time, as opposed to jauntering around the track very slowly.
Yes.
And this racing car needs to be tuned better.
Tuned with snacks and drinks and rest. And it's nice actually to have a bit more of a behind the scenes as well for the three of you, and how you work, and actually how it is to be a channeler, because again, I like this aspect of podcasting, because now we're talking at a multi-dimensional level, again helping people's perception of reality expand even more, so they can reflect with a wider perspective of reality about their own lives.
We're actually quite candid about our lives. We don't tend to hide anything much, but of course there's always a level of behind the scenes, isn't there? That that doesn't get seen, and I've had to remind quite a number of clients who are disappointed that we don't offer a paid chat with Chen 3 times on a Thursday anymore. But Andy was just getting too exhausted. He had to have recovery, you know, so we bring you in different ways, don't we?
Yes, I mean, I would run completely all the time if I could, of course. So after the techniques and the routines of the morning are finished, I could quite happily take over until the evening, really.
Yeah, well,
But
then
of course,
he just goes to bed after you finish.
yeah, but unfortunately, the lifespan would be quite short.
I think he'd be hungry.
He's always hungry.
Yes.
And a good thing that you feed him. Feed them both.
Yeah. But of course, this is the thing. Obviously, when another spiritual energy comes in and possesses the human body, whether it's positive possession that we see here today, obviously I'm possessing, I have my own conscious awareness, and I perceive, or you perceive me to be Chen, the individual called Chen that I am, that I speak of. It's my energy, it's my frequency and signature. So that comes into this body in a positive possession. Obviously, if someone's being possessed negatively, then of course that would be what you would call possession, where you'd have another possessing spirit trying to take over the physicality of someone else. And this obviously happens when people have attachments and connections to them. People go through trauma, people go through pain, their frequency drops, their etheric field breaks or perforates, as we say, and then things can connect and things can try to take over that person's physical body. And obviously we see this in different ways, but obviously when that's happening, if you have a negative spirit that has a very low frequency connecting, then that person comes right down in terms of their energetic vibratory frequency, and that brings them into the place of anger, rage, pain, emotional tears, anxiety, all of the low frequency emotions. That person lives in that space whilst they have that attachment connected, possessing them in that negative way.
Yeah. And that's the difference between a positively aspected possession, like yourself as a guiding spirit to Andy, channeling through him, versus a negative energy that has attached themselves. I did see a short the other day, like a short story type of thing, and you were saying about Tourette's, and I thought that was really interesting what you were saying about that.
Yes, I mean, if you think about Tourette's is the physical example, not in all cases, but certainly in some, of a possessing spirit trying to take over and force themselves into the physical container or body of someone else, because that possessing spirit is able to come in, push aside the host to a certain degree, speak through them. Obviously, you see the negativity, the swearing, the bad language, foul language, the actions and the things that they do, spitting and such like. So you see all of the negative examples of emotional frequency come in when you have a negative spirit trying to possess someone in a negative way. So the Tourette's syndrome is a classic case for people to see of possession, basically.
Yeah, you notice, don't you, with Tourette, there's never anything nice they've got to say, is it?
No, they don't shout rainbows.
Rainbows and teddy bears and puppies, no.
No.
They don't.
And this, of course, is how you can discern between what's positive and what's negative. When you look at what someone says, and that comes to anyone really, the information they're providing and the type of context and conversation they hold with other people defines their frequency of vibration. So people that are speaking in a high vibratory frequency, positively, looking out of the positive window, obviously you intuitively know this person's trying, not everyone can, of course, trying to be positive. People that are looking out of the other side of the bus, as Andy said earlier, that see the rain, they're living in a very negative space, holding a negative frequency, so everything they perceive is bad. So the same thing happening to two different people, if you're living in that low vibratory frequency, even good things you will perceive as lucky, or it's just a coincidence that today the sun came out. Whereas someone in a positive vibration will say, of course the sun should be out, it's a positive day, I'm going to make use of the sun. So it's a complete change, and you have to align yourself with your frequency, with your thought process. And the thought process is the first thing that has to change frequency bands. So changing frequency and coming up is very simple, but you have to start changing your thought process. This should be taught to children in schools, that if they think about things negatively, they obviously drop down in their frequency band. They then become angry and negative. If they were saying positive things and reading positive stories and taught to think positively from kindergarten, they would be magnificent as they got older, because they would be holding very high frequencies. And if you're holding a high frequency and you move into a corporate job or some type of situation, you will start to expand your frequency base. And then, of course, other energies come forward and give you inspired thought. And this is how the world would change. Because if more people were holding a higher frequency, they would be essentially channeling positive information, new ideas, new inventions, ways that we can change the planet in a positive way. And of course, the current system is designed to keep everyone in a fearful, negative band for that reason. They don't want inspired thought, inspired, motivated people that would change reality.
Yeah, totally agree. Absolutely. And it's the change of a thought in just a moment and doing that consistently will change the trajectory of our individual and collective lives.
Yeah. Do you think it would benefit children in school to learn to meditate?
Yes, of course, they should be taught that as soon as they can think.
Yeah.
Because every child is thinking and having thoughts, and those thoughts have a frequency. So the more, as you said, my dear, earlier, people are born into families where there's a lot of tension and negativity. They're programmed and taught this is how it should be. And then, of course, they go on to live that way, but probably become more negative in their own self. And then when they have children, they bring them up in the same way, or probably worse, than they were brought up. So this programming ancestrally continues through generations. But if children were taught to meditate and to hold a higher vibration, to connect to guides, to request clearance of interference as it comes in with a thought, I've said so many times now that a human put into a Faraday cage would have no thoughts. The only thoughts you would have would be your own, and most people have never had their own thoughts in that same way, but they would be a benign thought. They wouldn't probably be positive, but they certainly wouldn't be negative. Negative thoughts come from telepathy, manipulation from other energies around your space that you can't see. And this you see everywhere. You see people that are hearing voices, people that are mumbling to themselves, people that have done substance and drugs. Of course, they open their chakra or blow away their protective boundaries and chakras, move out onto the astral, connect to negative things, and then they're having negative thoughts and doing negative things. But if you put people in a box and you didn't let any external energy or thought come in, then everyone would change overnight. So this whole construct is designed to basically be targeting people continually from small children.
And of course, that's why we all get held back, Jennifer, isn't it, as well? Because we're all trying to do good work.
Yeah.
But they don't want us doing good work, do they? They don't want us raising the frequency.
Well, it's spiritual warfare, of course. This is what's happening.
I do, I was saying earlier, I do feel like grief is a core wound that is the core wound that stops people from being able to release the pain of the past. And through a loss of, like, grief of losing friends, family, loved ones, home, pets, your land or country. Like, there's so many aspects, but I feel like grief is like the core wound that would keep you stuck, however that might look, and keep you in those negative thought patterns. And I suppose, was this the topic that you had in mind as well, Chen? I was kind of feeling for you as well this week, but grief was the thing that's kind of popped for me.
I mean, grief is it's one of the lower emotional frequencies, and of course everyone has grief. So when you're at school and you're a small child, 4 to 5 years old, and you lose your best friend because they go off with someone else, there's an emotional reaction that is a grief. You have to grieve the loss of your friend, and as you go through life into adulthood, people are continually grieving. You, my dear, said a moment ago, I grieve my house.
Yes,
my nest.
Yes.
So you can grieve your car, the car that you've loved, that you've had to sell because you don't have enough money. The things that you bought in the house that you surround yourself with, that you love so much, that go wrong. and then you can't find the same one, so you have to grieve that. So the grieving process,
It's a collective thing, isn't it?
Yes, it's not just about physical grief of someone dying and passing away.
No, it's lost.
It's daily loss. And of course, grief could be called change, because people don't like change, and people stray away from change in their life. As soon as you try to hold your structure very solidly because you don't want anything to change, then you are going to go through grief, because change will be impacted in a way that would look like grief to you, because things can't stay the same. Life continues to change and evolve, and people get to a certain point in their life with the perfect life, the perfect job, the perfect family, the perfect everything. It has to fall apart, because you can't maintain that, because change happens, and change is how you evolve spiritually. And of course, we as spirit guides are here to put you through change. We wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't make your life slightly miserable, because that's how you learn. That's how you experience new things, and that is the path.
Is that kind of what has been encoded into the human experience, is the depths of darkness, and then just the journey of getting back to the light and saying, no, this is what I choose.
Yes, basically. For all of you have a spiritual, a soul we talk about, or spirit, different wordings for different people, different religions. But when you incarnate here into your physical life, we know it's a theatre show. We know that you've chosen to play a role, you've chosen a body, you've chosen a colour, you've chosen the colour of your hair and your eyes. All these things are pre-chosen by you. And then you start to become part of this show, basically. And of course, that means that you have to work through the struggles and challenges that are put forward. And generally, the people that are closest to you, your family and your friends, are the people that are here to challenge you the most, because they're the ones that you trust to do that in your extended lifespan.
Yeah.
They do, don't they?
Yes, and you think about people that go through different types of abuse, whether it be physical, emotional, sexual. The person that's actually performing the abuse is doing you the greatest honour and the greatest favour, because it gives you the opportunity to experience that and to grow. Even though it's painful, even though it can be a terrible effect on you emotionally, mentally, that person is doing you a great service spiritually and energetically. And of course, you see it in a completely opposite way. Society sees it obviously as things that are done in a bad way, which of course it is from a physical perspective, but from an elongated spiritual growth perspective, then your best friend is your parent that's treated you so badly. When you both arrive on the other side with me in spirit, the first thing you do is high five, you hug. What a wild ride that was. Didn't I treat you terribly? And how did you react? You reacted so badly. Of course you did. But you did work through it. And of course, as you've moved into your later adulthood, look at the healing and the recovery that you made. And that was down to me treating you so badly. So we have these very odd conversations when we're on my side of the fence that would be inconceivable, really, in your physical life.
Thank you for sharing that. It's like the behind the scenes of the transition from having the life experience back to when you cross over, and that the kind of conversations that you have with your soul contracts, with your soul family, when you choose to teach each other, or at least pave the way for lessons to be learned and experiences to be moved through. So that's, yeah. Do you find...
So think about it from a bigger perspective. Who would you trust the most to treat you the worst? The person that you love the most, because they will do it in the right way. So when you're in spirit and you're deciding who's playing which role in this theatre play, you choose the person that you're the closest with to give you the worst experience.
For those that have gone through, or even the kinds of clients that come to you, or the ones that their spirit has been crushed, really like desperately hurt, and they're on that path of self, like deep inner healing and self-healing, as a guide, as much as you are also a practitioner with Andy, are there things that you would recommend for lovely people out there listening and tuning in that could help them?
Yes, the first thing that changes your life The most important thing that changes your life is speaking your truth. The two things that we are very keen to guide with is service to self. You must be service to self first. And that goes against all of the teachings that most of you have ever read, because you're brought up in societies to be service to others first. We teach service to self first, because when you effectively sort out your house, you're then able to help other people. But if you don't do service to self first, then you're always going to be vulnerable to manipulation by other people. The service to self has to be the first thought every morning when you wake up. And the next thing has to be spiritual clearance. So you need to work through a very quick meditation to bring yourself to a sovereign perspective. So you have no other attached negative frequency or energy in your field. And then the moment you start speaking to your family and the people in the rest of your day, it has to be speak your truth with integrity. And you don't have to be rude to people to speak the truth. If you see someone that's wearing a pair of shoes and you think they're terrible, what choice of shoes are they? I'd never wear shoes looking like that. And they say to you, my goodness, what do you think of my new shoes? So what you say is, as long as you like them, they wouldn't be my choice. But if you like them, that's wonderful. That's you speaking your truth. If you say to that person, they're lovely, I think they're lovely, already you're not speaking your truth. You're being deceptive towards that other person, and your own heart chakra starts to close because you're effectively being deceptive. It's a low frequency. So think about the people that you meet and speak to every day. How many people speak their real truth with integrity for every paragraph and conversation they have? Probably zero. In reality, everyone is being manipulated by someone else to do or say the things they think they want them to do. But if you speak your truth, your vibration comes up, your heart chakra opens, and of course you can start to vibrate with the frequency of love. But again, most people never attune to in their whole life, because they're not actually living in service to themselves and speaking their truth. Does that make sense, my dear?
It does.
Yes.
And I suspect it's fear that stops people from wanting to take that next stage of authenticity as well. I know sometimes I get it myself, but I know that this is an important thing that I need to do in my life. So I just keep going.
Society from youngster programs you to follow rules. If you think about the school system, you're not taught anything at school, nothing at all. You're taught to repeat. Someone gives you information, you're unable to validate yourself, generally as a child, and you have to repeat it. And if you can repeat it, you pass the test. You haven't validated it. You don't know if it's true or not. You're not able to validate most of it. Look at children or people that go to universities that are taught advanced mathematics, they're taught scientific things, they're taught chemistry and biology. They're only repeating work that someone's done before that says this is how it is and this is the answer. They're not actually coming up with this themselves at all. It's just a rinse and repeat. And of course, most of it isn't true. And this is how you program society. You actually have rules in place that mean people only pass if they can repeat what they've been told without the thought process to be able to validate the information. It's a classic case of control.
Do you think that's also stemming back to the grief thing? Is it's hard for people to process emotions because how we've been set up is get external information, take that as true, and then that's it. That's the answer.
Conditioning.
Yes, and of course, everyone has intuition. It's built into your DNA. It's built into your structure. So when someone says something to you and you know it's not true, your intuitive frequency comes online. That light flashes, the light bulb comes on in the back of your mind. This isn't true. I don't think it's true. But most people don't say, how can we validate this? When we look at history and we say, so-and-so happened in 2000 AD, did it? Who's on the planet to tell you that happened? No one. Where's the information to actually validate it's true? And where did that information come from in the first place? And how was it propagated through society? But again, everyone just repeats what they're told because it's part of the system, effectively. So what you're saying, my dear, is grief is the right word, but it's change. And of course, it's validation that we're talking about. And all of your societies are built on this whole concept of continually being deceptive to each other. and you vote for all of your politicians that all of you know are deceptive. There are some politicians, I'm sure, that work with integrity and truth, but how many of them become corrupted over time? And certainly the people at the top are working to a different set of rules that you don't even understand, because they're working to a different frequency that most people in humanity don't see at all. Now, of course, this is where things are, is the light is being shined now in some of these very dark places, and people are starting to realise that these dark places have been controlling humanity for quite some time. And obviously this is the challenge.
Yes. Yeah. I agree. And actually maybe this segues into 9320 asked, if what would Chen's perspective be on the Gnostic view of this reality? I feel like that's quite a good thread to tie in.
Yeah, so the Gnostics talk about the archontic frequency. Are you both aware of the archontic conversation?
I'm not.
I'm not.
So we're talking about, so the Gnostic view is that there are stone tablets that have things written basically that are passed across to humanity. But they talk about different entities that control from behind the scenes, the archons, or the archontic frequency as we call them. So we, in our teachings, we continue to say that obviously this view of humanity that's given to you as part of your thought system, that is evolution, is not correct. Because obviously we know there's this big gap in evolution that's never been able to be proven. So Homo erectus and the whole concept of changing from apes to humans that have no hair, there is no bone structure, there is no history to show that happened. So that way we must understand that the view of reality and the human evolution has to be false. And of course the Gnostics talk about this in tablets that were given across at different times, and they talk about the archontic frequency, which are other entities that control from behind the scenes. And this is what we do, my dear, every day. We clear these frequencies, these entities from people's field every single day. Yeah. And these are the unseen energies. I'm choosing my words carefully, my dear. I know that you're stepping on my toe. Yes, so I have to be very careful in terms of what we say. But there are these unseen entities that control and run things behind the scenes that we continually clear and remove. And it's part of our job to do that.
Yeah.
Well said.
How was that, my dear? I changed course, you noticed.
Yes, I did. I sensed you stopping. I thought.
Well, we are aware that we need to provide information that's truthful, but also we're not going down the rabbit holes, because of course that becomes problematic.
Yes.
Now, I'm sure the person that asked the question is very educated in terms of the answer that we provided.
Yes, I'm sure they're saying thank you. It's I was thinking about this the other day. We're also in an age where we want to speak authentically and truthfully, but we're having to maybe you're inferring that people need to read between the lines, because that's the space we're in right now. And I have seen your new move to another platform, which I won't say because I don't want to upset anyone. Algorithms, and I've decided I'm going to follow suit as well. So I'm on that orange one that begins with S and ends with K as well. So because information, the right information that people seek, it's important that people can find it, and it's not going to be put in an invisibility cloak. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we know that everything is frequency, everything's energy. So if a social media platform is vibrating with an algorithm that supports negativity, then the frequency of that platform is going to be very negative. The people that are on that platform are going to be subjected to that negativity. Whether they allow that into their field is a personal preference choice based on what you view and what you watch. But the algorithm on the platform is going to be continually feeding you low frequency negative imagery, whether that be videos, reels, imagery, words. And of course, what has to happen is there has to be a higher frequency platform that doesn't use that type of negative algorithm to support their product effectively. And of course, that's the wonderful thing about the universe, is that everything gets provided. So when something starts off positively and then becomes controlled in a negative way, there's always an alternative that pops up. And life continues to do that. The same as relationships. If you're in a controlled negative relationship and you're not matched with frequency and you're continually arguing and life isn't very good together in that relationship, someone else will come along to one of those people with a higher frequency, and that will encourage that person to move relationships. Because, of course, that's what happens. That is the way that life is designed. It's a frequency farm, really. You could coin that, my dear, a frequency farm.
A frequency farm.
Yes.
Okay. I'll remember.
I'll send you the transcript. How about that?
Yes.
Nice. And actually, we're perfectly coming up to, we've got 2 minutes left before we're at 5:43. So I wanted to give 15 minutes for Andy to reset himself before your next appointment at 6 p.m. on your channels.
Good day for you, isn't it?
Yes, it's wonderful, my dear. Yeah. I was so pleased.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
Yes, you were. I got 2 opportunities.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, much appreciated. Thank you so much for all 3 of you coming on today, and for everyone that has joined us live and also on the replay, because you are coming to these messages to help you, to help your family, to help your communities, so on and so forth, so we can all live and laugh every day.
Thank you very much for having all 3 of us.
And you must remember, my dear, your work is imperative. It's very important. People like you, if we don't have people hosting these platforms and these conversations, then there is no way to distribute the guidance and the conversation. The conversation we've had here today is extraordinary for many people. Many people that hear this for the first time, we will have opened their mind to completely different concepts of their reality. So well done to you, and to keep on, because obviously things do get difficult when you're hosting, and you do get targeted, and some days you wake up and think, why do I bother? It's not as though I'm driving a very fast, posh car from all of the proceeds, because most of the time there are no proceeds. But of course, what you are doing, my dear, is you're accruing points energetically, and that work is being imbued into the quantum grid of this planet and for yourself. So you don't need the physical pat on the back. You're actually building the energetic imprint yourself in the grid itself.
You'll be giving her a pat on the back, won't you?
Yes, of course. It's wonderful work.
Thank you very much, and thank you. And that also, let that inspire others that have platforms to do this work. Not let fear stop you from bringing your dreams into reality. And that's what I stand for. Everyone deserves to go for it and live their very best lives.
Everyone has a voice. Every single person has a voice with a different opinion, a different collective energy, a different attitude, different information, and there's someone to listen to your voice. So it's a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for having us, Jennifer.
My pleasure, and thank you so much. I'll see you in a few minutes on your channel.
Yes.
Say good day to you all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Andy.
Yeah, I think so.
Nice glass of water.
We've been talking a lot.
Yeah. That was a lovely conversation.
Perfect. Is that Gareth? 19320?
I don't know.
Gareth, I think. Probably.
All right. Okay.
I'm guessing.
It's nice. There's been quite a few people that have done some messaging on here today, and so it's been a lovely engagement all round. So very much appreciated, and you are all welcome to come back whenever you want, and we'll recap again and see what the topic is of the day, the week, the month, the moment.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, Jennifer, you take care. Thanks
All
for
right.
joining.
We'll see you later.
And we'll see you later.
See you in 12 minutes or 13 minutes. Right.
Cheerio.
Bye-bye.
Cheerio.